Hi! Just mentioning the word modes in a group of guitarists could be enough to cause serious panic and surely an urban myth or two. Why is that modes always seem to cause confusion and misunderstanding? And maybe that's why the learning musician thinks of modes in an overcomplicated way. And let's face it, there has been said so much and explained so little in the lessons that you might have encountered here on YouTube. Frankly, modes are not that complicated. In fact, it's rather simple, and it can boost your playing and compositions in a way only modes can do. Now, this will not be a full explanation of the modes because I already made such a video, though I will make a revision someday. But for now I will summarize the most important aspects of the modes to refresh your memory, and then quick as lightning go to the altered pentatonic scales for easy modal playing. Now, if your memory block containing the modes is empty, then it's a good idea to study this video first. Now let's do a short recap of the modes. So, what are modes? Think of modes as flavors. In this case, flavors of the major scale. Now, how to make those flavors? Well, very simple. Just take any major scale and start playing the scale starting on a different note than the tonic. So when we play a C major scale, we start on the tonic and we'll end on a tonic. And that sound is very familiar to our ears. It's a good old Western major sound. Now, this sound is defined by the position of the semitones, or half steps if you live in the US. In a plain major scale, those half steps are between the 3rd and 4th note and the 7th and the 8th note. Now, to make a new flavor based on this sound, we can start the C major scale on a different note and make that the tonic. So let's start on, let's say, the 3rd note of the C major scale, the note E. Now, by doing so, the semitones in the scale shift to positions which differ from the original C major scale. And therefore, the sound is different. We have created a new flavor, and in fact, we have created a brand new scale. And this new scale we call a mode. Now, we can do this for all the notes of the major scale, and every time we create a new scale, which we call a new mode. And to keep track of those modes, they have different names. Now, the first mode is the plain major scale, but we can also call this the Ionian mode. The mode starting on the 2nd note is the Dorian mode, and the mode starting on the 3rd note is the Phrygian mode. The mode starting on the 4th note is the beautiful Lydian mode, and the mode starting on the 5th note is the Mixolydian mode. Now, the mode starting on the 6th note is the Ionian mode, and you know that scale as the minor scale. And the mode that starts on the 7th note is the Locrian mode. They all sound different, and that's because the semitones are shifted to another location in each mode. Some have a minor third and sound minor, some have a major third and sound major. Now you can imagine that improvising in a mode could prove to be a little challenging, especially when you use the diatonic scales, which contain all 7 notes. So now we're going to compress this musical information of a mode to 3 single notes. One of these notes triggers our ear to believe we are in that specific mode and not in the parent major key. It's the characteristic note for that particular mode that we call the modal trigger note. And we could say that the modal trigger note defines the sound of the mode. And every mode has 3 essential notes. And those are the tonic, the 3rd, which determines if the mode sounds major or minor, and the characteristic note for the mode, the modal trigger note. So, you see, you don't need 7 notes to outline the mode. Now we're going to find out which 3 notes are specific for each mode, and we leave out the Ionian and Aeolian mode because you are almost certain familiar with the major and the minor scale. Now here are all the modes starting on the note C. The C Dorian mode is the 2nd mode of the B-flat major scale. In the C Dorian mode, the 3rd degree is minor, and the characteristic note in this mode is the major 6th degree, because you won't find this note in the plain minor scale. Now, styles in which this mode is popular are jazz and rock. The C Phrygian mode is the third mode of the A flat major scale. The third is minor and the modal trigger note is the flattened second degree. This note triggers a Phrygian sound. This mode is used often in flamenco, hard rock and metal. The C Lydian mode is the fourth mode of the G major scale. It's the brightest and happiest mode of the major scale. The third is obviously major and the modal trigger note is the augmented fourth degree, the note F sharp. The Lydian mode is popular among film score and TV serial composers and instrumental rock guitarists. Think of Steve Vai and Pliny, for instance. The C Mixolydian mode is the fifth mode of the F major scale and has a major third, and this makes it a brighter mode. The modal trigger note is the flattened seventh degree. The note really sets off the Mixolydian sound. The Mixolydian mode is used in blues, blues rock and jazz. The C Locrian mode is a strange sounding mode. It's the seventh mode of the D flat major scale and has a minor third and a diminished fifth degree. Now this modal trigger note is very dissonant and creates an unstable tritone. Not something you want to use in a love song unless your girlfriend wants half. The Locrian mode is not really an application for a whole piece of music, but rather for short fragments, like a few bars at max. Now, what we're going to do is a bit arbitrary, but please follow me on this one. I'm going to take the note A as a root for all pentatonic scales, and not the root C as you might expect. And that's because of two main reasons. Now, the first reason is the fact that we all learned the pentatonic scale as one of our first scales. And the chances are good that you've learned it in the fifth position, the A minor pentatonic scale. And you played it a long time before you even thought of other variations, right? So that's why the A minor pentatonic scale is very familiar to you. The second reason has to do with us being guitarists, and this is not flattering, because guitarists can't cope with flats that well, right? Our instrument is just not tuned right for playing with a lot of flats. Of course, if you are a jazz player, you are used to flats and it's easy. But maybe it's better to avoid flats in an educational subject and keep things as simple as possible for the sake of crystal clear clarity. It doesn't mean, though, that you shouldn't try to get familiar with keys that have a lot of flats. You should learn these as well as all the other keys. So, now we know what the essence of the modes are. Let's spice up some pentatonic scales to a modal variation. Now the A Dorian mode is a minor mode because of its minor third. So we have to take an A minor pentatonic scale as a starting point. The scale sounds like this. Now, the note that defines the Dorian mode is the major sixth degree. In A Dorian, that would be the note F sharp. So, adding the F sharp to the A minor pentatonic scale would evoke a Dorian sound. And when we do so, we end up with this sound. Now you could say this is a hexatonic version of the Dorian scale. Hexatonic means 6, so it's a 6-note scale. Now here's an example of how you can apply this scale. The Phrygian mode is also a mode that belongs to the minor family, just like the Dorian mode we've just seen. So we have to take the A minor pentatonic scale as our basis for the Phrygian variation. Now the Phrygian trigger note, the note that evokes the Phrygian sound, is the minor second degree, and in this case the B flat. Now playing this note will put the Phrygian mode locked in our ears. Even playing only the root and the minor second degree makes sure the listener is struck by the darkness of this Phrygian scale. So let's add this minor second degree to our A minor pentatonic scale and see how this alters the sound of the plain minor pentatonic scale. Pretty dark, right? So here's an example of using the Phrygian version of the minor pentatonic scale. Now if you skip a note here and there, you actually make it so that the pattern becomes a simple 2-note per string pattern. Now the Lydian trigger note is the augmented 4th degree. It's a major scale, so we have to start with a major pentatonic scale. In A major, the augmented 4th degree is the note D sharp. When we add this note to the A major pentatonic scale, we get this sound. And here's an example with this Lydian variation of the A major pentatonic scale. Now, although the Mixolydian scale sounds darker, it's still a major scale with a major 3rd. The modal trigger note would be the minor 7th degree, and in A Mixolydian mode, that will be the note G. So, adding the note G to the A major pentatonic scale would give us a Mixolydian experience. Now this is an example of the use of such a Mixolydian version of the A major pentatonic scale. Now the weird sounding Locrian note is a special note with lots of tension and instability due to the diminished 5th interval in combination with the minor 3rd and the minor 7th degree. I just gave it away, but the modal trigger note is the diminished 5th. So adding this note to the minor pentatonic scale would trigger the Locrian sound. But wait, if we do so, we'll end up with a pentatonic scale with a perfect 5th and the diminished 5th. And that scale we know as the blue scale, the minor pentatonic scale with the blue note, which is the diminished 5th. Now to get a real sound of the Locrian scale, we should eliminate the perfect 5th. So now we'll end up with a pentatonic scale where the perfect 5th is replaced by the diminished 5th. Now an example of the use of this scale could be played over a minor 7 flat 5 chord. So there are a lot of misunderstandings about the modal playing and modes themselves. I hope I have given you a tool to approach modes in an easy and understandable way and catch the essence of the mode playing with this simple skill. You have one goal and one goal only when it comes to using modes, and that is to convince the listener that they are listening to a certain mode and not to the parent major scale. Now you can do this in different ways, for instance by choosing the right chords or the right notes during improvisation or a melody. Now this practically always implies using modal trigger notes, be it in chords or in melody, as long as they are there. Well, I hope this was crystal clear, and I'd like to see you next time in a new tutorial. And why not join the club and subscribe? But for now, greets from the Netherlands, or groetjes uit Nederland, as we say it here. Bye!